Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening. A little impromptu live here this evening. How's everybody doing? Come on in and get comfortable. I got a couple of guests up here with me this evening. Welcome in, ladies. Welcome in.
Hello, how are you?
Uh, well, I think we're all trying to soak in some news, aren't we?
Yes,
Um,
we're very shocked. I think Dolphin stepped away for a second. You caught her. She'll be right back.
okay. Yeah, I had laid down and, like, took an afternoon nap, and I, like, dozed off for a few minutes, and I get up, and I walk outside and pick up my phone, and it's the first thing I see. Immediately, I messaged off, and she's like, "Oh, where's Firefly?" I was like, "Get her."
Oh my
So
gosh. She texted me that Cobra took a plea deal, and I just glanced down at my phone because I was making my dinner, and I saw Cobra took a plea deal, and I'm like, oh, who is it? It's probably a Reddit thing or something. That's bull crap. I looked down at it again. It was
Uh-oh, you're kinda cutting in and out. Is that you or me, I wonder? We may have lost her for a second, guys. Dolphin's making a martini. Make it 2, ma'am. Make it 2. Um, okay, so in case you guys have not heard, I'm sure a lot of you have heard why we're here. Um, so news media outlets are reporting that Brian Koberger has taken a plea deal. Hello, Donnie. I was wondering if you were going to show up, Donnie. I saw your comment earlier. So Donnie has been predicting that we were going to get a plea deal in this case. Um, I don't know if it shocks me, but it kind of surprises me considering how hard Ann Taylor's been going, with the not guilty thing, standing up in court and saying, "My client is not guilty." She stopped saying that, if y'all didn't notice. um, let's see. The DoorDash, what did you tell me about the DoorDash driver? Because we've known about the DoorDash driver forever, except for her face. You know what I mean? Um, there's been a lot of speculation in this case. You can't find. Dolphin says she can't find olives. Oh my gosh, um, we can't.
Gotta have a proper martini, I
That's a
guess.
crime in itself, right? That is a crime in itself. Dolphin, dang. Um, Pokemon, hello, hello. Holy air balls, she says. So yeah, we are getting reports. Brian Enton broke the news on Twitter earlier, and of course, since then, some more media outlets have followed. Some of the families have given statements as well, other than just the Gongalves family. We're going to take a look at that here too, as well. But so yeah, I should have threw a poll up to see who was surprised and who wasn't surprised. Well, you guys let us know in chat. How do you feel? Are you surprised that there's a plea deal, or did it come as a total shock? Um, I've learned over the past week or so that people who trickle in here to listen to us talk about Koberger also spend a whole lot of time in other chats talking the opposite, right? So I hope that they're all doing well tonight. Seems a lot of them are having a hard time,
Yeah.
a hard time with the news.
I'm
Speculations. Go ahead.
yeah. Oh, nothing. I
Okay,
was
I'm
just
here.
gonna say.
Okay, good,
Oh,
good,
welcome.
good.
I was just gonna say I'm definitely surprised. I mean, I'm surprised. Never thought he was gonna take a plea deal. What about you guys? You did
I,
often?
I've
Oh,
always thought it was a
go ahead.
possibility if he was offered one.
Yeah.
Mm,
Um, and
mm,
from what
that's
we're
good.
hearing, it was a prosecution offer and not the defense coming to them and saying, "Hey, we're ready for a plea."
Oh, no. Where did she get that letter from? Emily D. Baker had the letter. It's on
No,
Brian Enton's website
she
or
said
is
no. I've got the same article she read from, and from what I understood, nobody has the letter yet. But the families have the letter, and that's how they were notifying some of the press. We're going to take a look at that same article that because I caught a few minutes of her live a little while ago when I was still sitting outside,
mm-hmm.
and I heard her talking about it. Well, I had the phone on, but I was doing something outside and I was listening to her. And I thought, well, I think I got that same article. And I checked, and I do have that same article. Um, Donnie says the defense. We'll take a look at that article. See, I may have heard.
Yeah, it does say that the
Yeah,
defense went to
okay.
them. Mhm.
That's because I also thought earlier this morning someone tweeted a picture out of Ann Taylor. It appeared she was in court in Pennsylvania because we had the hearings today in Pennsylvania for the witnesses that they were trying to subpoena,
Mhm.
and then the judge did order them to go to Idaho. And then a few hours later, this comes out. So I was like, if the defense was the one approaching them with this, why was Anne so hot to trot to get to Pennsylvania today? That's what
She
I'm wondering.
wasn't in Pennsylvania.
Then so the picture is just a picture. I mean, I don't know. I just saw a news on Twitter,
Mhm.
and there was a picture, and it was says Ann Taylor appearing in court in Pennsylvania, but I didn't even look at the article. I just saw it on Twitter, so I don't know.
Mm.
But so I don't know if she was there or not. So we're going to take a look at that article, and then there's another article that came down with some information about Xana's parents in there. Um, the Gonzalez family has come out and made a statement as well. They're not happy. I don't think Xana's family is happy, but they're entitled to their feelings on it. Um, shoot, either way, I'd take it as a win at this point. If the man's going to plead guilty and stop the fighting and just and he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. I've said it 1,000 times. To me, DP life in prison is pretty much the same. Never getting out. Okay, so let me pull up this article that I do have. This one. Because Brian Enton hasn't posted the letter yet that I could tell. And when I went back and checked the Gonzalez page, it wasn't up there either. But I did hear there was a letter.
Yeah, it's quoted in that article.
Yeah, it's in the article. Um, but yeah, it's not on Twitter yet. Okay, so let me pull up this article and we'll read it to you guys. I'll pull up the screen as well. Okay. Let me get it over here where I can read it now. All right. So this is an article from ABC News that Kano Wentworth reported on. Okay. Can you guys see the screen okay? All right.
Mhm.
Brian Kohberger has agreed to plead guilty to all counts in the killings of 4 University of Idaho students, sparing him from the death penalty, according to a letter sent to the victims' family members informing them of the plea deal. Kohberger, who was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary in connection with the 2022 killings of roommates Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, and Xander Kernodle, and Kernodle's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, will be sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences on the murder counts and the maximum penalty of 10 years on the burglary count, according to the plea agreement. He will waive all right to appeal in the agreement. Like, I figure if you take a plea deal, you don't get a shake at appeal. Prosecutors anticipate sentencing to take place in late July, as long as Kohberger enters the guilty plea as expected at a change of plea hearing that's scheduled for Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, guys. So they have that, and that's going to go forward. We will be covering it here. We have another hearing that day to cover as well. It scheduled for Wednesday, according to the letter received by the family of one of the victims. The plea comes just weeks before Kohberger's trial was set to begin. Jury selection was set to start on August 4th, and opening statements were scheduled for August 18th. Prosecutors said in the letter to the families that the state was approached last week by Kohberger's defense team asking to be presented with an offer. Prosecutors said they met with available family members last week, weighed the right path forward, and made a formal offer to Kohberger.
Yeah, that's the part I was talking about.
Yeah. This resolution is our sincere attempt to seek justice for your family. So I need to email this to a certain somebody. Say, look here, your boy's defense team is the one who approached,
Mhm.
or your little involuntary plea deal he's over here being forced to take now because we're all being mean to him. Now I'm
Mhm.
gonna really cut the fuck loose. Okay, it's
Mhm.
not. It's after hours, and Salty's gonna get fucking salty.
I've got my
Okay,
cocktail.
okay, girl. I got my gummies on the way. All right, he can't get here fast enough. Um, I got delivery. No, I'm joking. Um, this resolution is our sincere attempt to seek justice for your family, prosecutors wrote in the letter. This agreement ensures that the defendant will be convicted, will spend the rest of his life in prison, where he fucking deserves to be. I put that part in myself, y'all, and will not be able to put you and other families through the uncertainty of decades of post conviction appeals. Your viewpoints weighed heavily in our decision making process, and we hope that you come to appreciate why we believe this resolution is the best interest of justice. The state will also seek restitution for the victims and their families according to the agreement. I don't know how they get that if he's in prison, but whatever. You can't get it from his family. The 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death in the girls' off campus house in the early hours of November
Oh
13th,
wait, did you say
2022.
restitution?
Hmm. That's what it says.
Yeah, they can get it from his family if, like, say, for example, he decides to, have somebody write a book, help somebody write a book, but he
Oh,
can't, you
that's
know,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
profit. So then he says, "Oh, my family." Then they can maybe go after his family or
well,
whoever.
they can come after proceeds of the book,
Mhm.
but I mean,
Mhm.
his family in general, no, but they can't. They could anything they earned off of
Mhm.
it, like you said, in a book deal or something. So,
Yep.
two
Movie
roommates,
deals.
and you know it, and you know they
They've already been talking
they've
about that.
already been talking about it, right?
Mhm.
Ramslin's over there in the corner going, "I'm got my pen, got my
Yep.
pen. I'm taking fucking notes on my
Mhm.
former student because don't you know she's down that rabbit hole in that mind." Okay.
Mhm.
Two roommates inside survived, including one roommate who told authorities in the middle of the night she saw a man walking past her in the house, according to court documents. The roommate described the intruder as not very muscular but athletically built with bushy eyebrows, according to the documents. The shocking quadruple killings shook the small college town of Moscow, catapulted to the national media interest, and launched a nearly 7-week manhunt. In December of 2022, Koberger, a criminology PhD student at nearby Washington State University at the time, was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania. DNA matching Koberger's was found on a K-bar knife sheath by one of the victims' bodies, prosecutors have said. Defense lawyers have said Koberger was driving around alone the night the killings occurred. And that was the end of the article. So we don't, um, let's see. You asked Firefly, did she get a cocktail?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at. I tried to pull up. I don't know why my Facebook wouldn't pull up on this computer. I don't think I've ever logged into Facebook from there. To be honest, I don't know that I have. I'm gonna read you guys something. Oh, that's not it. Go back. I'm on the wrong thing. Okay.
I don't know about you guys, but I cannot wait to watch some of these different videos of people who, um, I guess, are considered pro burgers,
Oh
like
yeah,
their reactions,
I can't wait.
Oh
I can't
wow.
wait.
because I'm sure heads are exploding all over YouTube tonight.
They are. I've saw a couple of them already. A couple of having little meltdowns. Oh, he was threatened. He's got to be threatened. And
Hmm.
now's the time to tell on the ones who helped you. I'm like, well, what do you mean the ones who helped him? Because a second ago, your last breath was he's innocent.
So how does he was threatened work? Because it's not like Koberger is like Richard Allen. He hasn't lost a whole bunch of weight and look, like
Exactly.
gaunt and sickly, like he's been mistreated,
And they think that they're
Like, come
someone's
on.
gonna sneak into the county jail and threaten him in his ear, and his attorneys will never know that's why he did it, and bullshit. They have to be the ones to help sign off on all that,
Yeah, so his
you know?
attorney apparently was threatened to go to the state and say, "Hey, can we get that plea deal now?"
Right. They're not taking the time to make it make sense, are they? And God forbid they be wrong. Because then, if you're so dead ass wrong about something you've been screaming for 2 solid years how right you are, and now it's in your face that you're wrong, how can people trust you going forward? But that's on them, not me. So the Gonzalez family come out like 2 hours ago with one statement, and they just had a follow-up statement. I'm going to read you guys the first one. They say, "It's true. We are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us. Please give us some time. This was very unexpected. We appreciate all of your love and support." And they had another post. It's a lengthy one, about 10 minutes ago.
Oh wow, really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Aubrey is their youngest. Aubrey was unable to attend the meeting with prosecutors to beg for additional concessions to guarantee certainty in this case. We are all in awe of how she was able to perfectly articulate the following, especially at only 18 years old. We are so proud of her. It says, "Hello, my name is Aubrey Concalves. I am the youngest member of the Concalves family. Though I am unable to be there in person, I refuse to stay silent about a situation that should never have required this kind of gathering in the first place. Bless your heart, baby girl, because you're off to college. What the families of Ethan, Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana have endured over the past 2 years and a half is beyond comprehension. From the constant delays to the relocation of proceedings, making it harder for loved ones to attend. The justice system has placed heavy burdens on those already carrying unimaginable grief. Through it all, we have tried to hold on to hope. We've believed in the process. We've had faith in the system. But at this point, it is impossible to acknowledge the truth. The system has failed these 4 innocent victims and their families. These are not just names or headlines. Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, and Xana Kernodle. Just saying their names sometimes, man, were beautiful human beings who touched countless lives. They are not just the Idaho 4. They were sons, daughters, siblings, and friends. Real hope, real people with real dreams. They deserve to be remembered for who they were in life, not only for the tragedy of their deaths. But before that can truly happen, they deserve justice and nothing less. The introduction of this plea deal just weeks before the scheduled trial is both shocking and cruel. Had this proposal come a year and a half ago, the families could have had time to process, discuss, and potentially come to terms with the idea of a life sentence, however difficult that may be. We could have had time to understand it, to prepare for it emotionally, and perhaps even to find some degree of peace. But now, with mere weeks left, we are being asked to absorb and respond to life-altering decisions with no room to breathe. Bryan Kohberger facing a life in prison means he would still get to speak, form relationships, and engage with the world. Meanwhile, our loved ones have been silenced forever. The reality stings more deeply when it feels like the system is protecting his future more than honoring the victim's past. The justice system was created to serve and protect, not to re-traumatize grieving families. And yet, time and time again, we find ourselves blindsided, unheard, and unsupported. This last-minute plea deal feels like an act of justice, and more like an afterthought. We are not asking for vengeance. We are asking for accountability. We are asking for dignity for our loved ones. And we are pleading for a justice system that truly lives up to its name. That was the end of the post. I don't choose to tell them how to handle things and how to feel about it. I'm sure it is taking some time for them to get used to it and to really process how they feel about it. You know what I mean? They may not The way you feel in the moment may not be the way you feel tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? It could change. All right, all right, we're going to pull up another article here, guys, and read about Xana's family now. I don't know if Shelton, her brother, put a tweet out or not. Let me go check really quick. He tweets a lot. No, nothing yet. Okay. Okay, let me pull this up and we'll get. Oh, click that, but it will help. Okay, so this is an article that TMZ came out with a little while ago, and this is apparently Xana's family will speak in here. All right. The family of Xander Kernodle is livid over the plea deal offered to accused murderer Brian Koberger, and they told prosecutors they had better not dare go through with it. Oh, goodness.
Boy.
Oh, boy. Kim Kernodle, Xana's aunt, who was so furious she was in tears, tells TMZ prosecutors floated the idea of a plea deal a few days ago, and the family made it clear no way. That was the aunt that Xana lived with for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Donnie, Kim Kernodle is Xana's aunt. They were very close. When we spoke with Kim, she was on a conference call with prosecutors. She says the prosecutors told her the defense approached prosecutors with a plea deal, and the prosecution went along to spare the families the pain of a trial. Kim says that's ridiculous because at least two of the families, hers and the Gonzalez family, wanted Koberger to face a jury. Kim says prosecutors were especially concerned that the families would have to see the gruesome crime scene photos of their loved ones, but she says, we know the graphics, they were not trying to spare us. Kim also says when her family got a call from prosecutors a few days ago about a deal, they were vague. Prosecutors never mentioned taking the death penalty off the table. Well, that's usually the case. What's especially puzzling, Kim says prosecutors told her there was enough evidence to secure a guilty verdict. There's the face of a madman. And when I stare into those eyes and I tell y'all I went into that head and it was a scary fucking place and I left and never went back, I wasn't lying. Was I, Koberger? It's deep and dark in there. Deep and dark. As we reported, under the deal, Koberger pled guilty to 4 counts of murder, and in return, prosecutors will take the death penalty off the table. Prosecutors will recommend life in prison without the possibility of parole. A hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, and presumably that's when prosecutors and Koberger will ask the judge to approve the plea deal. Kim says she wants the judge to delay making a decision so the families can figure out their next move. Y'all don't really have a next move, hun.
No, they don't.
No.
That's been the problem all along. They think they're in control, you know?
And I get their frustration with it because, I mean, we were frustrated when we first heard this. We're like, what about the trial? You know, we all wanted to see that damn evidence. And I think it'll be laid out, you know, if we ever get these documents unsealed, which that will happen in time. We can see what the prosecutors really had and what Anne has known for 2 years the prosecutors have had.
But
Yeah.
I wonder, part of where their anger comes from, I don't
Mhm.
think the prosecution is being upfront with them as to how much their opinion really matters. They can make this decision, and I don't think they're telling them that.
Well, it's never up to a family to decide. They
Yeah.
can,
I know that, but they don't seem to know that.
You know
Well,
what? Honestly, they sort of seem like, and I'm speaking about the Gonzalez's because
uh-huh,
they're the ones that have been the most vocal. They seem like the type of people that you could tell them something and they still
uh-huh,
would not get it, you know,
yep,
and think that they have a way to do an in run around things. You know what I mean? Because like think about it. The police told Steve, "Hey, sit back. We got it. Let us do the investigation." Da 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 da. Steve was like, "Nope. I'm going to go do this and this and this.
Right.
Whatever, whatever." So they just, yeah, they think they have more control than they do. They've always thought that, and that's not the
Yeah,
case
I agree with that statement. I
in
do.
any courtroom.
No, it's just recommendations. Give us your opinions and things of that nature. But when it comes down to it, they're going to make the decisions. And Dolphin's right. Steve came out of the gate, complaining about law enforcement, and that led to a lot of speculation in this case. And that fed the fuel for a lot of creators to go, well, see, even the Gonzalez thinks something's up, so there's got to be something up, blah blah blah. But I mean, I do feel for the families, but I feel like they will
Yeah,
come.
I do
They
too.
will, yeah, they will come to accept what is. I mean, because if
Yeah.
I mean,
Takes
to
time.
get yeah, but to get a plea deal, you would have to take DP off the table. Otherwise, there's no deal. We're
Right.
we're going for the death penalty, so, I
They
mean,
will in time come to figure it out because ultimately it's better for them. They don't have to sit through 3 months of this trial, see all these pictures and all this stuff. It's going to be hell. That would be hell for them. Like, this is much
yeah.
better.
Well, I mean, I can s to their point, though, if it's my child, I'm already processing it to know I'm gonna be faced with looking at stuff like that. And I think that a lotta families get shocked by it, but I think some can prepare there's I'm a preparer. I just prepare for things to come, and I don't panic about them. I try just to prepare as best I can. I would have been
I
preparing
just hope I just hope their healing can start now. Like, it's going to be this is pretty
That's what they
much
need to be
the end of it.
focusing on.
They need to start healing because they've been in that denial, not denial, but you know what I mean, the anger stage, and
Hmm.
they have to just get through that. Hopefully
Hmm.
this will turn it around for them.
well, I have felt like for a while, some of their grieving was put on hold. The
Yeah.
stages of grief has been completely put on hold, right? And you and I both know those stages come and go, and they can take a 20-year process. And
Right.
it's to the now they maybe they can finally start to get to that point because I know they've had such
Yeah.
a hard, a really rough time. And come on, when I'm reading that article or reading the statement from Aubrey, all I could picture was that video where I made that little short where it's Ethan playing the guitar and he's saying, "I just want you to know who I am." That's all I can
Mm,
envision, because it came so much more about the guy on trial than the students who were murdered and why.
true. True.
It became so much bigger, and it's not all about Brian Koberger in my it's never been all about Brian Koberger to me. Um, Now, we here on this channel, you guys have all know that if you've heard us talk, we have always felt heavily that they've got a plenty of probable cause and the guy probably did it. And we were always open to maybe he didn't, but we were pretty sure that he did. Um, and totally opposite the way I feel about Karen Reed and the way I feel about Delphi. And I've explained why I feel the way I feel because I've read the court documents, I've watched the trials, and the different things. But for people to come out and to get all up in their own feels about this Koberger case and start running out the gate with he can't be guilty, and then they can never backtrack and get away from it. And now they're all having their little meltdowns, and that's fine. They're going to have them, and they're going to say all the things, like I said, he's threatened, and I'm like, the fuck's threatening Koberger? Nobody.
Yeah,
Um,
I just think that they don't realize that one, they'd be sitting through, days and days or whatever, however long the testimony would be of the autopsy photos, the gory details or whatever. Think about what do you call it? Karen Reed. And in her trial, the O'Keefes had to just look at a photo of an arm for the most part that they kept throwing up there,
yeah,
casually or whatever. Can you imagine how much worse
Hmm.
these photos are going to be? And yeah, they can, have the option of not being in court those days or
yep,
whatever, but they're still going to have to play that out for what was it? It was supposed to have been a 12-week trial.
Yeah.
Now, okay, great. You convict him, okay? And yes, he gets a death penalty, but they've never been realistic about what does that say. Christy has always been like, I just want him dead. She's said that in interviews. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying that she doesn't have a right to feel that way, but
Right.
I don't think that they're realistic about what the death penalty is, right? It does not get carried out the next
Oh
day.
no,
No.
30
You know,
years from
it'll
now.
be like
Yep.
decades. They may not even live to see him, be put
Oh,
to
true.
death. Do you know
And
what I'm saying? And I
yeah.
don't think that they really thought about that. And so the 30 plus years or whatever of appeals and yada yada, that is this news cycle that's been going on right now times 30 years because people would have never gotten off of it. You know what I mean?
And the appeals process on a death penalty case goes on and on and on and on and on.
And
You
it's
know.
expensive.
Yeah. I
That's where
mean,
Idaho is coming from.
exactly. They would have fought that for the rest of his natural life, that decision. And he would have always had an appeal going of some sort. And I think once they have time to sit back and I get where they're coming from. They wanted to see him in court. They wanted to see him squirm. They wanted to see the jury find him guilty. And I get it. But at this point, I mean, also, I would accept it at this point too.
But think
Thank
about
God.
this too. Like part of the frustration of going through trial would be the fact that he's still denying that he did it. At least now he's admitting that he did it. That to
Hmm.
some point, you know what I mean? To me, that would be.
Huge.
I mean, it doesn't really relieve that much, but it's
But
still a little bit though. Like he's acknowledging that he did it.
right. Exactly, because there's so many people out there saying, "Oh, he can't be the guy. He didn't do blah blah blah." We've heard all the things. It's the DoorDash driver. It's Tom, Dick, and Harry. Um, and it's not. It's always been Koberger, and it's never been anything different. Um, Donnie says, "What if? What would happen if he were to win an appeal? He appeal on what? You mean outside of this? I don't think there would have been any appeal he could have ever won. Not if the judge does everything right, and there's no fuck ups there. Um, because even if you get guilty on death penalty, or even just guilty and you got life, you can still fight an appeal. Lori Vallow's fighting an appeal right now in Idaho, but it's not going to get her anywhere. You got to have a lot of
Yeah.
strong stuff to get an appeal going. I don't think Koberger would have had a chance with an appeal, even if he had been found guilty. What? What are y'all talking about in chat? Let me get my chat. Hold on. What is my phone blowing up? It was doing that earlier. Holy cow. Um, okay. There we go. Pokemon, why did he change his mind now? I don't know. I think Ann Taylor has seen all the evidence against her client. And why do we think she's fighting so hard to go back decades and decades and decades into his past life and trauma? Because she knew they got a lot of evidence against my guy. I
Hmm.
better get prepared so when they find him guilty, I can try to get some of this, mitigation stuff done and penalty phase stuff done. And that's where you bring in these people out of Pennsylvania from, who didn't want to come testify.
Your
Oh,
keyboard
sorry.
is so noisy. No, that's okay. Dolphin brought up a good point a little while ago. She was saying that isn't it
Hmm.
interesting that this Michael Easter has come out and talked about this
Hmm.
what is it
Car's
the
SIM
little
card.
thing. I wonder if
Hmm.
that the SIM card, yeah. I wonder if that's a coincidence.
Well, I
Could be
don't know
just a
because
pure coincidence,
I
but
think it's
what do you think?
coincidental because of the timing of them saying these letters went out, or when the defense
Like maybe
approached.
Because they're still asking for discovery. Is where I was going with that. It's not just that, oh, because he came forward and said this, that, oh, now they're quaking in their boots. No, that's not it. They're still asking for discovery, right? And the state's like, well, we'll turn over stuff as it becomes available and blah 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 or whatever. There's still something that they're wanting that they didn't have. So
Well,
what if that's one of the things that they were still trying to get a hold of?
Well, I would be mad if I was Ann Taylor because I should have had that a year and a half to 2 years
Hmm.
ago.
But
Okay,
you know
don't.
what? Anne knew that this man was guilty
But
all
that's what I'm
along.
saying.
She's been
But these newer,
playing a role.
right, these newer discoveries, I think that people are still seeing, as with all the discoveries in this case, come along. Now, remember, the state also put doctors on Brian Koberger. So is Anne filing discovery because she wants to see some of that as things? It's not. I don't think it's anything new as far as evidence on Brian Koberger. I just don't feel like that's the case anymore, especially when I've seen how many damn discoveries were in Chad Daybell's Idaho docket. People were like, when people were being blown away about all, we're up to 12 discoveries in, Koberger. I'm like, well, have y'all seen how many was in Chad Daybell's case?
But so hold on a second. Why couldn't it be? Look at what's her name?
I don't know.
Karen Reed. Wasn't the whatever Burgess brought forward, the SD card, wasn't that new that they didn't have before? Burgess was like, "Oh, I
Yeah,
found
but
this."
the way Easter was talking, the way he
Hmm.
described that wasn't something they just found. That was something he had found a long time ago.
Right, but that just because that they found it a long time ago doesn't mean that the state has turned it over.
They should have.
They should have, right, a lot, but they're still,
Well,
asking for
according to the
discovery.
judge, I know, and that because of what the judge said in the other hearing about the discovery deadlines that
Hmm.
everybody has apparently seemed to have met. And then when the way Ann Taylor loves to file discovery requests and then stand up in court at a hearing and say, we've received everything. I'm like, you're talking out of your ass. You're trying to
Hmm.
confuse people. So I don't feel like it's related to anything from 100 years ago. I think it's all newer discovery stuff. I don't know what it's about. I don't
Hmm.
think they just found something today or over the past week that Ann's like, oh, holy shit. Ann's oh, holy shitted for a long time now. She just didn't know how to play it. Which way can I get all this taken? Get everything removed that I can possibly get out of here, and nothing's worked.
Hmm.
So do you
Yeah,
approach?
I don't think that they just found it either.
Yeah. Now you approach your client at some point. You're like, look, dude, they got a mound of evidence against you that I can't keep out of court and I can't fight. That's your DNA on the sheath. Can't fight that. We can scream, touch DNA, grocery store cereal box all fucking day long, but it don't make sense. Oh, Aunt Ruth didn't wash her damn hands after handling her K-bar, and then she went to the grocery store, touched the cereal box, and all this bullshit is stupid, you know. And a lot of it has always been stupid that come out with this case. WSU mom Kim, where you at, lady? Where you at, Kim? Brian didn't do this. And all this fuckery started. I stopped listening to anybody over a year ago, 2 years ago, that still went down these stupid ass rabbit holes in this case. I'm not going to dumb up my brain by going and trying and hoping your little video might make sense and Brian Koberger might not be the guy. I stopped watching all that shit over a year ago. I couldn't even tell you what they're all out there saying because I never cared at this, at some point.
Yeah,
Um,
me either.
none of it was making, it doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
Rachel says maybe Anne realized that the evidence was stacking. It
It's
never,
not stacking up.
no,
She's known all this stuff all
yes,
along.
yeah. She, she is known all
Yeah,
along.
that's what we're saying, you know?
Yeah, exactly. She's known about it all
This
for a
isn't
long
news to the
time.
defense.
Hell no. And it ain't news to a lot of us,
Yeah.
that really paid attention to the case and really looked at the evidence and really went down all those rabbit holes 2 years ago, right? And was willing to look at other things that people were saying and brought to the table and people. I'm just as guilty. All three of us here on panel went down every damn one of those rabbit holes. When y'all want to bring something over here to this channel and say, well, did y'all hear this? Trust me, between the three of us, we've heard it and we've seen it all, and a lot of ridiculous stuff that we've seen and heard over the past nearly 3 years. And we were right there trying to decipher all of it too. We're no different, but at some point you got to start concluding, man, I'm not going to listen to people on the internet who are screaming at me, this guy is innocent, without telling me why. Why you think that? Because you don't understand a document?
Oh yeah.
Well, the document makes sense to me. So it's time for me to stop following your idiot ass.
I was a fence sitter for the longest time, so trust me, I follow a lot of the
Yeah,
I
you
murder
were.
know.
stuff.
Yes,
Hmm.
Dawn
And
says,
I was
yeah.
like, no, he did this, right from the beginning, because
Oh,
people were
hell yeah.
like, oh no, they looked at the surface, oh, he's
Mhm.
a PhD student and da 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 da, because he looked good on paper, and nobody, like, it seemed like wanted to really go deeper and say, well, wait a minute, what if he used that knowledge to do something
It
like
wasn't a
this?
stretch. I mean,
Because it's not a stretch.
no, BTK and Smiley Face Killer both had criminology
Yep.
degrees. Both of them. Now you got
Hmm.
a third one in Coburger. Bundy wanted to be a lawyer. He had stuff, you know.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not a stretch, and people really wanted to drive that home to people. Well, look, this can't make sense because of
And
this,
how
this,
could one person do this, and this
this.
many
Oh, they
minutes, and
still
I'm
to this
like,
day, people say that. There's
really?
no way one person
Yeah.
could do this.
Oh
Come
yeah.
on, people, that's
I mean,
crazy.
like, literally just do an exercise at home, right? Because
Yep.
you know all three, we'll say all four of them had been drinking or whatever that day, that night, or whatever. Three of them were females who were much smaller than this man.
Mm.
Okay, so I just do an exercise. Put 14 minutes or whatever it amounts to on a stopwatch or whatever. Walk into a bedroom and stab a pillow, fake stab a pillow, or whatever. See how many times, how long it would actually take if there's no fight back. Because guess what? The pillow's not really fighting back either. You
No,
know,
a lot of people did
I
that.
mean,
They
yeah,
all.
there was a little bit of, defensive wounds or whatever. People want to say Xana fought. She did. She was trying to grab the knife. It sounds like, or Kaylee tried to fight back, but whatever. But how much of an effort could they have really put forth against
Firefly,
somebody like that that's
right?
bigger than them and
Firefly.
sober
Yeah,
with a
exactly.
knife?
And Firefly and Danger and I did that little experiment that night by entering the King Road home and went through a scenario and gave ourselves time to. We're unaliving at the moment, and it was so crazy because when we came back down the stairs and I stopped and I was like, "What time is it?" And Firefly said 4:12, and I just automatically tick tock came out of my mouth.
There are
That's
other
it.
cases of people doing something similar. So I just don't understand why people are just like, no, I don't understand. No, that's not enough time. How much time do you think it takes to cut somebody's throat
Not
or stab somebody in the jugular? I
and
mean,
not long.
Yeah, you don't sit there for 5 minutes. It just like a couple shots and they're dead.
And
It
it
doesn't take
appears
that
that 2
long.
of them were
It
at
really
least
doesn't.
2 of them were asleep, Maddie and Ethan. I don't know for sure about Ethan, but
Hmm.
Maddie, I'm gonna always feel like was not.
yeah, I think
Probably.
she was passed out.
She was passed
Hmm.
out, never knew what hit her. Kaylee and Xana saw this guy face to face.
Yeah.
They did. Pokemon, I
Yep.
posted that picture onto the community tab earlier. Barry has a hearing on the 2nd as well. I think it is, no, Barry has one tomorrow at 1:30, 2:30 Central. Stephon Stearns has a pretrial at 9 a.m. on the 2nd. So I'll cover that morning, and I'll find out what time they're going to do this hearing on Koberger, and we'll do that as well. Um, did we see a time for that yet, or we don't know?
No, I haven't heard a time yet at all.
Okay, so there is supposed to be a hearing, as far as we are hearing right now, guys, that there should be a hearing in Idaho on Wednesday on the 2nd about this plea deal, and it should be a formal acceptance, but there was, of course, nothing in the docket as of yet. Pokemon, how do you think he got that mark on his face? I was wondering. He got a big old bite or something, big scratch on his head. I don't know what's going on with him. But I'm keeping an eye on that docket. So let me take a look at something here. Oh,
I guess I don't know what photo that is because it's not the one when he was first
now this is
arrested.
it's on
A
my
different
community
one?
tab on the YouTube channel. It's his new mugshot from being transferred over to, because he's back in Colorado now. Um, oh well, people's tweet and tweet.
Oh,
Uh, he's no longer in Maricopa County. He's over in Colorado again now, under a $3 million cash bond, I believe. Um, Hitler doesn't have to accept the plea agreement, but he will. Those 8 unexplained hours, the behavior of the two roommates is a major problem for the state, and Hitler knows it. Wow. Just takes one juror. And that was a tweet from a defense attorney.
that's wishful thinking.
And this particular defense attorney's been wishful thinking for a hot 3 years, damn near.
Oh God, is it Andrew?
No,
Mm.
mm-mm.
Who is it?
Mercy.
Oh, mm.
She she said her inbox was blowing up. I'm like, I bet it was. I bet it was. There's a lot of people on the Twitter who went silent, and some are just having all on meltdowns. I don't get it, but don't take these cases that damn personally. Don't die on that hill for someone you don't know. Just report it accurately and fairly and give your opinion, but don't die on that hill because then you make yourself look foolish later, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could have easily come out here for clicks and views and jumped on that Brian Koberger's innocent bandwagon, but hell no.
I couldn't even if I let's say quote unquote needed the money and wanted to grift, there's no way in hell I would have been able to try and spin that this man was innocent knowing the other things that I know. You know what I
No,
mean? The other things that everybody has ignored, even when it came out in court documents.
I know, right? It makes
I'm just
you.
like,
It,
are y'all forgetting all of this
That's
and that
it for
and
the last several months. There's been
mm-hmm.
so much more. It's like it's is everybody just ignoring all this
I'm just
information?
like,
Like,
or are
no.
people that gullible that
well, the only one that seemed to get it was JB Gunner, right?
I know. I gotta give
Right.
him credit. Don't
I
even really
know.
like him
And
like
that's
I
that.
how
You know what I
I
know.
mean?
turned over. Okay, I was on the fence for the longest
Mm,
time, and then I just saw a couple things, and I'm like, "Oh shit, okay, he definitely did it." And that's just how JB was. Like I
Uh huh.
watched him do
hmm
coverage, and I'm like, "Yep, yep, he sees it
I
now."
could respect that he actually came out
Yeah.
after
Me
two
too.
plus years.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, when the Amazon information that he bought the Amazon, the knife and sheath and the sharpener, when all of that was revealed, JB Gunner came right out and was like, "Damn," you know.
He did, and I had.
And he
I'm
has
actually.
been on the right side of this ever since that.
Yeah, and I respect him for doing that. Just like
Hmm
I have such mad respect for Steve from Publicly Buzz because he came out openly. We DM'd a little bit earlier. We were going to be doing some collabs, getting ready for the trial, but when he came out and said it, he said it here on my channel. He has said it on his channel. But he fell into that in the beginning with
Oh
Idaho.
yeah.
And the
hmm
crazier you can make your thumbnail, and the crazier the headline, and the crazier the story, wow, the clicks, the views you got were just through the roof, right? But the minute you start scaling back on that, they run up and leave you. And Steve went through that. But it's like I can't be that. I cannot do that. I can't sit here and continue to try to get people in here, and I don't even believe this shit that I'm putting out there, right? So I gave him prompts for that. And then to see JB, the three of us know where he's always sat with this case.
hmm
May not care for him on a personal level, but he has got a lot of influence in this space. With in the Koberger case for that part, I don't know about anything else. But for him to come out and say that, and people not turn on him and go after him, that was maybe some of them did. I don't know. I don't pay attention, but it was
Well, they did turn on him, some people, and he said,
surely
what you would
did.
expect him to say. He doesn't care.
Exactly, right, it's like, "Y'all go ahead, y'all know where to go if you still feel this
Hmm
way, go find somebody else," and it's just gonna be I mean, I know they're all gonna start doing their thing, but I won't even watch, I caught somebody accidentally having a meltdown earlier because it came across my feed, and I was like, "Oh, shit, they're already
Yeah,
live,"
I
and I was
saw
like,
that too.
"Oh,
Yep,
did
yep,
you see it?"
yep.
And I was like, "Alrighty then," I couldn't even listen to all that, but, I turned that off real quick, like, but
I
they're
will
all.
later while I'm sipping on some cocktails and
There you go.
enjoying the
Yep,
show.
Yeah, it
yep.
was, quite comical to watch that reaction.
Oh
because
yeah.
you
Yep.
need to die on that hill. You needed this guy to be guilty. I mean, innocent. You needed him to be innocent in court, and you needed the jury to find him innocent. Therefore, you're
It just goes to show that person has really poor taste in men. like, like that's
Well,
all I want to say.
like if she said that.
Oh wait. Oh, sorry.
No, you're
there's a
good.
history there.
You're good.
No, I don't take it back.
No, you're
No,
good.
don't take it back.
We ain't said no names. Um, but we know who we're talking about. It's all good. Um, but yeah, I mean, they're gonna spin it. I mean, I don't know how you could, but I guess they will if they can. Um, oops, turned on something and it's automatically playing in my damn ear, and it gets me every time. I'm like, what in the world? So this is a news clip from earlier. We're gonna take a look at this, and then we'll go back to have some conversation. All right. So this was on News Nation a little bit ago.
Coming in from the state of Idaho once again, but on a different story, as News Nation has just learned that the accused killer, Brian Kohlberger, accepted a plea deal. Yeah, a plea deal was offered, and he has accepted the deal. Sources are confirming that prosecutors proposed dropping the death penalty. That was the deal in exchange for Kohlberger pleading guilty to committing 4 murders and pleading guilty to burglary as well. So guilty plea in exchange for no death penalty. Now, the background on this story, you'll remember he's accused of killing those 4 University of Idaho students at their home. It was back in November of 2022. Sources say Kohlberger must also agree to spend the rest of his life in prison without any possibility of parole. So jail for life, no parole. But again, no death penalty. Must waive his right to appeal as part of this as well. Plea deal has been accepted. A court hearing for a change of plea will take place on Wednesday, so in 2 days. So this is just breaking. They'll be covering it in more detail tonight on Elizabeth Vargas Reports and also on Banfield. One of many big stories we're covering. Now,
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and down.
Oh my goodness. Ugh.
Yeah, agree to spend his life in prison. He doesn't have a choice.
He doesn't have a
What,
choice.
what are you talking about? Like the man had no options. But you know what? Here's another thing too that I don't think that uh, has probably crossed people's minds. So another creator was talking about Koberger is playing the long game, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just kind of like, what long game, right? You know,
What?
but but I'm like, you know what? Because remember, I told you guys know that I always thought this dude was playing chess while everybody else was playing checkers,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
What if this was his plan all along, right?
Mm.
And he wants to be written about by Catherine Ramsland,
You
right?
know it.
So he never wanted the death penalty. You know what I mean? He cared about, sparing his life all along, you know?
Yeah.
And I think this was, quote unquote, his long game, you know?
That's
Probably.
This
yeah.
this has like just been whipped up to such a fever pitch, right? And
Yeah.
it's this big mystery, like, oh, for the people who thought he was guilty. Well, how did he do it? How did he get out? How did he get away with no blood? There's no blood. There's
Oh
no
yeah.
evidence in the
Gotta know
car.
that.
Da 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 da. There are all these mysteries around this, and everybody was in a lather on both sides
Mhm.
about it, right?
Yeah.
So now, okay, great. So we get to almost going to trial. He does this plea, and he's going to go to jail. And then that way he, gets to, be written about, right?
And
Books,
he gets
movies,
exactly.
all that.
Um,
He gets to, have his former professor,
come
like,
and talk to
study
him a
him,
whole lot. Exactly. She's gonna
okay?
come and talk to him a whole lot and
Because he's
study
the
him.
authority on this,
Yep.
you
Maybe
know?
this is his way to support his family in their older age. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know if he
weird
even
way.
thinks about. I don't think he cares
I don't
I
think
don't
about.
he,
know
yeah.
because I wondered if his mom begged him to please take a plea deal
She
so
might
you don't get
have.
the death
Hmm.
penalty. You know what
She
I mean? 'Cause
she may have, considering there's a lot of overwhelming evidence, and considering they know their son better than anybody, right?
yes,
I know
exactly.
my kids better than anybody. I
You
know them
know
little
they knew
shits,
deep inside
right?
that,
I
oh,
know them
he
little shits better than anybody, and I know
mhm.
which one to watch out of the
Hmm.
group, and which one's gonna try the
Hmm.
mischievous, and which one's gonna be my little angel baby, and When
Oh yeah.
what you? But I just tell my boys, you went to bed an angel baby, and you woke up a devil child. I told my grandson that the other night. He's like, "What?" I was like, "Ask your dad. It happened to him when he was your age." And he's just like, "Oh man," but you do. You know your kids better than anybody, and we've always felt like I feel like the sisters, they don't care for their brother too much.
Mm-mm.
He was a little handful. He was that little shithead that always got his way with mama. Mama saved him. If you read what Koberger's mother herself has written,
Oh yeah.
you see that person, you see that mentality come out in her. And I feel like, and when we heard about him stealing the sister's phone, and then the sister
Hmm.
allegedly approaching their dad, when Koberger returned from Washington with dad to Pennsylvania, allegedly one of the sisters did approach dad. Hey, dad, Brian drives a white Hyundai Elantra. Brian just came from WSU. Think there's a chance my brother could be the killer, because they know things we don't know. And these witnesses they were trying to get to testify, they didn't want to go to testify.
Hmm.
They don't want to go speak nicely of a guy that may have committed murder, or talk about, and a couple of them, they're like, we only knew the guy at age 15 and 16. We know
Yeah.
nothing about the adult Brian, right? So what would they have been able to testify to? And so if you look back at the evidence that has come out in the PCA, people didn't believe that shit, but it was all laid out pretty beautifully, if you ask me. Bob Motta always felt like that
Wait,
was
don't go giving the PCA
oh,
too many props.
no, no, I will, because I
Girl,
never
you
had
know that there's some flat out lies in the PCA though too.
there may not. I don't know if they're lies or not. The only lie there is one
Everybody
lie.
was asleep
There, well, that I mean,
and slept through. I mean,
I'm not talking about the roommate situation. I'm about the
but that's in the
other
PCA
stuff.
though.
I know. So
Hmm.
maybe not all of the PCA.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Not all of it. Go ahead.
So
Hmm.
a lot of people out of the gate, this PCA is stupid. It makes no sense. It does if you read it. I'm not worried about what those goofy little roommates are doing. I'm a grown ass 60-year-old, nearly 60-year-old woman. I'm not going to sit here and tear down a couple of 19-year-old drunk girls. I'm just not going to do it. I made up my mind a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. I was done with that whole conversation, right? So taking that whole part about the roommates out of there and what they saw and didn't hear, all that crap, all the other stuff, it was there all along. People didn't want to buy it. They didn't want to believe it. Oh, how do they know this? Well, if you wrote it all down, the times the car was seen, the times the phone was pinging, they freaking lined up coming up and down the highway. There was a lot there. But if you go and start looking at the actual documents as they came out, we couldn't see a whole lot. Everything was so sealed for a long time. It wasn't until all those motions in limine came out and all of that stuff was happening that we started to see evidence come out in these documents. And even then, that was overwhelming to guilt. Now, of course, there was a lot of shady shit in there about those roommates. We covered it here as well. And I covered it, but then I got at some point, I was just done with covering the roommates, right? I just don't, it feels weird as a grown ass woman to tear down a couple of 19-year olds that I didn't think did anything wrong except be drunk and stupid.
Yeah, they're just drunk and stupid. Point.
I
That's
mean, who
it.
was tearing
That's
down
it.
the roommates?
Lots
Oh
of people.
God, everybody on the YouTubes that pro burgers and stuff, they still do it to this day. And as of 8 hours ago this morning, there's still tweets about these roommates, the 8 hours, unbelievable, all this stuff. They should be charged. We've heard that for 3 years. 3 solid years of how these roommates should have been charged already. When's the charges coming for Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The roommates and the 8 hours is a separate situation, like a separate issue.
Yes.
But yeah, there is, still like something, I guess, whether,
I mean, I guess people are always going to wonder. I mean, what's left to
to be,
wonder,
yeah, said about it.
My
Hmm.
only question is, if those girls did anything wrong, how do you know Brian Koberger? Because I'm not willing to take Brian Koberger off the table when I put the roommates into the situation. Now I want to know which one of you girls knows Brian Koberger and how well do you know him, if I'm going to blame on them. Because I wasn't going to stop me from blaming him. His DNA is all over the sheath. and I don't think it was planted. I don't think it was touched and transferred accidentally. People want to, explain that away like nobody. Don't you realize you're shedding thousands of, your DNA all over the. Well, I went to a science class. I understand how things work. I don't need hotheads coming in here telling me, well, you shed DNA everywhere. Every time you touch something, you transfer your DNA. Well, no shit, Sherlock. But my DNA wasn't found in a crime scene next to a dead body.
And your DNA doesn't just float up into the crevice underneath the snap. Like, that's
Hmm.
far-fetched to see, like, it specifically got up in there where
No,
somebody would touch
exactly.
it. Like,
Because you have to open that snap and be forceful about
mhm.
it, right? And we know that he probably got that baby out and examined it and made love to it, if you want to call it that. That's how they feel about their weapons of choice. You
Oh,
know,
speaking of, has our local YouTube DNA expert had a reaction?
Not yet.
Or is he still screaming about touch DNA? Tonight, another episode about touch DNA. We're like, what, 2.5 years in, right? Or shit,
Yeah,
a little bit more than that.
yeah,
But hey, I'm going to keep talking about touch DNA one
yeah.
more time.
Exactly, because well, they want to drill it into the people who don't know, or people who just come into the case, or may not know enough. They got to get it in there and make them believe what I'm selling. I got to sell them this, and now I got to make them buy it. You know, think about how easy it was for Touch DNA, and that's what a lot of them chalk that sheath up to. Still, how did he touch it? When did he touch it? How did his DNA get on it if it is transfer? So one of the roommates had it and then showed it to him. Then for they knew him. It was just never they could never make it make sense in my mind.
Yeah, because while you're sitting there focusing on that, you're not explaining all of the other crazy shit that they've proven about him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, Rachel, I don't know if they were paranoid about calling the cops. I can't explain what those two girls were doing. I just can't. We can sit here until the day I die, and I'm never going to be able to explain what those girls were doing or what they were thinking. We saw in the documents what they were saying to one another and how they were feeling. But, I just watched a show the other night. You know what the guy's first thing he did? Called his daddy. His dad says, "Son, hang up and call 911." When I'm telling y'all, I took the opportunity to talk to my then 17-year-old when actually he was 16 at the time. I had that conversation with my child. If something bad or you suspect something bad is happening, you need to call 911. Call me after you call them. Or you call me and I'm going to be calling them while I'm on the phone with you. But it's sometimes all you can do is take the opportunity to teach your children to do it differently. And and then Dolphin, you've talked about the other case as well with the lady who was in her apartment when her roommate was unalived, and it was vicious, and she never knew it happened. I can't recall that lady's name. Firefly, do you know the story? I can't remember what her name is.
I'm sorry, I was
I
typing back to
I know the story, but I don't remember
True
the
Crime
name.
Butterfly.
Who don't have to testify? What was she
Oh,
saying?
the girls. Yeah, she
The
said, I wonder
roommate?
if they'll ever say. Hmm. I said, no, because they don't have to testify.
No, no, it's done. They don't. If they're not going to be called to testify, what did he say? What they were doing? I don't know. I didn't read the question. Um,
The 8 hours will never be explained, basically.
well, no. I mean, it was explained in the court document. The two girls were sitting there texting each other, and that's all there is to it. You know.
That's actually not all there is to
No,
it.
I mean
You know what I mean? Yeah.
their conversation and what they were doing. That's all there is to it. I don't have any more thoughts on it. I don't. Even if they come, should I interview them and say, "Can y'all explain this 8-hour gap?" They're going to say, "Well, you saw it.
No.
You saw it in the document." We were confused. We're calling each other. I don't know what to say about those kids anymore, but I know people are still to this day still trying to blame them, and that's where even as of this morning on Twitter,
I don't I
um,
don't know necessarily if it's the people are still trying to quote unquote blame them. There
I've
are
seen the
still inconsistencies in what went down from the time of the murders till the time of the whole 911 call or whatever. But we've already talked about that. So, I
yeah,
mean,
the inconsistencies are there, but I'm telling you,
mhm.
I've seen the tweets as of 8 hours this morning. Well, it was 8 hours longer than that now. They're blaming the roommates. There's no there, and it's just dumb people. You got to remember, not
What, saying
everybody.
that they, are in on this with Brian? I mean, how are they blaming the
No, it's
roommates?
nothing to do with Brian. Brian's
Oh,
innocent. The people on the innocent train will always blame the roommates. When it wasn't working out to blame the DoorDash driver anymore, you go to blaming the roommates. And when that doesn't work out, you blame the frat boys. And when that doesn't work out, you blame them and Dylan and the DoorDash driver. I'm just saying, I can pull up the tweets. As of this morning, people are still tweeting Dylan Mortensen needs to be arrested. I see it almost daily on Twitter. I ignore it because I'm not going to argue with a grown ass adult behind a keyboard saying a 19-year-old drunk girl should be arrested with nothing to back that up, other than we
oh,
don't like what
yeah.
she did.
I
None
just
of us,
ignore those anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
none of us like it, but it is what it is. It doesn't take away that Brian Koberger went into that house and killed 4 innocent people. So it doesn't take away from that. So they're going to spin things however they want. That's for sure. We know that. Um, they might be talked into an interview. I doubt it. Here's the thing with those 2 girls, y'all. If people that know them and love them have seen what all we've seen on these YouTube streets and on social media about those roommates, they want this to go away quietly. They don't need to come out and give their account of what happened that night, because it's not going to make sense. It's not going to make it better. They're not going to be able to change the perception of themselves. You know what I mean? I just don't know if they'll ever come out and speak. I'm glad that the friends of the roommates are coming out and speaking, because they're tired of it. And I feel like they've been tired of things for a long time. When you have a lot of this going on and things are being said about you and you feel like you can't fight back and you don't have a platform to get out there and say what you want, and then you do go out and speak, the minute these friends of the victims opened their mouths, people wanted to go at them all over again. How dare they talk? Well, how dare you talk? I don't have a problem with any of them coming out and talking, especially nearly 3 years into it, and they weren't allowed to defend themselves for so long. Now, what we don't want them to do is come out and say things in these interviews they were supposed to testify about, but hey, that's between them and the judge. What can we do about that? Nothing either. Oh, let me see if I have it here, if it's on this one or another one. Oh, okay, I know what I did with it. Let me move that. Get out of here. Okay. Let's take a look at this. Now we know that there is a plea deal in the works. So this was before the plea deal came. This actually aired this morning before we heard about the plea deal.
And close friends of the victims are telling their story for the first time on GMA. Kana Whitworth sat down with them. Good morning, Kana.
Yeah, George, good morning to you. Hunter Johnson and Emily Allant were 2 of the first people to arrive at the King Road house that November morning. These are the friends who prompted the 911 call. Their actions described by other families as heroic.
Hey, Dolphin Firefly, remember the video body cams of when the cops went to the house for one of the parties and a blonde opened the door?
Yeah, the
And
neighbor.
everybody wondered if it was Bethany. It was Emily.
Emily. Yeah.
It was Emily.
But for them, it was a morning that changed everything. And they're speaking out for the first time about what they want people to remember about their friends. It's not just about how they died, but about how they lived.
You see the world in pure innocence, and that all gets ripped away from you, and one phone call. That's just the day that changed it all.
This morning, for the first time, the best friends of Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle speaking out about that November day when they discovered Ethan, Xana, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Madison Mogen brutally murdered in an off-campus home.
I don't think anyone expects anything like that ever in their life to happen.
Hunter Johnson and his girlfriend Emily Allant now telling their story in a new Prime Video docu-series, One Night in Idaho, The College Murders.
We were a big group of friends. Why would you target those four?
Emily says she and Xana were inseparable.
We were attached at the hip probably the first day that we met. Yeah, we just clicked immediately. We were same personalities, I feel like.
I love it when people talk about Ethan and Xana sort of being like male and female versions of each other.
Oh, it's very much true. They were the same person.
Hunter and Emily say the fall weekend started like any other with a big football game. The friends snapping this photo that Saturday.
It was a normal weekend for us, just hanging out with our friends.
The next morning, Emily says Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, called her concerned, asking her and Hunter to come over. In the documentary, you tell the story of really not feeling alarmed when Dylan called you.
I joked around with her on the phone. You know, it's something you would never expect.
It's November, so I had shorts on, slides on. Like, I wasn't prepared to obviously stay there. I was just going over to check, see what's going on. I would say as soon as you get there, you know something's wrong.
Hunter was the first person to arrive to King Road to discover what happened. Their friend Josie Louderin, who was also there, describing the moments in the docuseries.
As soon as I stepped in the house, I was like, oh, something is so not right. Like, you could feel it almost. Hunter was ahead of me and Emily and immediately was pushed out, and Hunter was like, get out, somebody call 911.
You hear Hunter on the 911 call telling the girls there was an unconscious person protecting them from the graphic details.
Is she breathing?
No.
How did you remain so calm in that moment?
Truly, in my heart, I believe God was with me that day, and he gave me the strength to get through that day.
As authorities entered the home, the friends say they were told to sit outside, waiting for hours with little information.
We watched the ambulance come and we watched them immediately leave. So I think that was a hard part for sure.
That second you realize there's no one to be saved.
Right.
Their best friends inexplicably murdered. Not knowing who was responsible or why, they feared for their own safety.
We just left to get away, be safe.
Yeah.
Is our
You
mindset.
didn't feel safe?
No.
In the nearly 7 weeks it took police to arrest a suspect, Emily, Hunter, and surviving roommates Dylan and Bethany became the targets of online sleuths and social media attacks.
Lots of threats, people saying I should confess to murdering them. I felt like I was less than a person in that point in my life.
On December 30th, 2022, police arrested then.
Yeah. All the people who threw shade at every single one of those kids in Moscow and called them a killer. I hope they're watching that hearing on Wednesday and watch this man this time not stand there and stand silent. Because, you know, that meant something to everybody. Didn't mean shit to me because Lori Vallow stood fucking silent as well, Bryan Kohberger.
28-year-old Bryan Kohberger. To Emily and Hunter, he was a complete stranger. Their murder trial set to begin in August. His attorneys say he's innocent. Does justice lie in a conviction?
I don't think there's gonna ever be any justice.
I mean, yeah, we can have justice for the conviction of it, but I don't get to still hang out with Ethan. So
They still don't get to.
they don't have a
with their
son. They don't
child.
have a daughter anymore.
They say they hope people remember who their friends were beyond the headlines.
Who they are as people is so much more than the Idaho 4, and they shouldn't be known as the Idaho 4, and they shouldn't be attached to, you know, the name of who did that to them. And I just think that, you know, hopefully one day that they're just seen as who they are and not what happened to them.
Yeah, Emily went on to tell me they are so much more than their last day. Now, they joined Ethan's family to speak in this docu-series One Night in Idaho, The College Murders, which premieres July 11th on Prime Video. Also, keep in mind, guys, we're closely monitoring a Pennsylvania court today where several potential witnesses for the defense will learn if they need to testify in Idaho when this trial is set to start in August. Guys.
All right, Kate.
I don't know that I believe the state decided to take them up on their plea deal offer just because they're only
I'm not
yeah.
saying just because
No, I'm not.
it's
I'm
a
thinking out
part.
loud.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm thinking. I'm just thinking. I don't think that Dylan would have lost this case with the amount of evidence they probably have against Brian Koberger.
No, she
Now,
wouldn't have.
no, yeah. So I don't think it had anything to do with the state being concerned about Dylan's testimony. Now, you also take into account the DoorDash driver, right? And what people are saying about her online. I don't know if that would have played a part either. You know, when you take away the DoorDash driver seeing a car there or whatever she saw, and if they can discredit Dylan's accountability because she was, drunk that night, that's fine. We still have other evidence other than this DoorDash driver puts this car there and this girl puts a bushy eyebrow guy because she wasn't even able to ID him in a lineup. Just bushy eyebrow guy. That's all Dylan could testify to. Dylan was not going to put Brian Koberger in prison for the rest of his life or on the death penalty. Other evidence was going to do that. So I just don't think it's got a lot to do with this probably was the state's game all along. Let's give you the DP. Let's play ball, boy. See what you got. Because in time, you're going to want to come and talk to us about getting that off the table and take that plea. And then we don't got to go to court and spend all that money to fight you. And these ridiculous ass lawyers you done assembled. I don't know. I can't. This case has gone on for so long, and now we hear this guy's going to take a plea. People just need, they need to accept it out there. I just don't know that how bad Dylan would have hurt the state at all. I don't think it would have mattered a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't think she like what she had to say or whatever, really mattered much anyway, other than establishing a time frame for, the murders or whatever.
Yeah, that was a bit because she was awake. I mean, you know what I mean? They're hearing things
Clearly, she was
hearing
awake.
things and seeing things and all texting things, all of that, I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, their DNA was never on the sheath, and so much for Ann coming out that last time talking about, oh, it was a cleanup. Really, ma'am? Because you wouldn't be taking a plea bargain if there was a cleanup and the roommates did it all along, and your guy's simply innocent, mistaken identity, riding around over here at Wawa Wee all night long. No, he
Yeah, I
wasn't.
mean, I said it all along. Anne was a trickster,
Hmm.
Can't listen to what Anne says.
Well, not when she's going to stand there and say he's not guilty without putting me anything juicy in a court document to back it up. At least in Delphi, we had that shit backed up in a court document. In Karen Reed, we had it backed up in court documents. Then the evidence was presented in court. We're not, here this is the opposite of Delphi and Karen Reed. I've never thought there's a real chance this guy could be innocent. I've always felt he's probably guilty as hell. They had a lot of, and I've never saw one thing in any of the documents, and we've read all of them here. Well, I've read all of them. We've read a lot of them here on the channel since I've been doing lives. And not one time, there was a couple of times the judge got spicy in that last document. I was like, I don't like it when the other judges kind of act like that, so I really don't like it out of you either, but I'm just fair across the board. I don't want to say, well, this is okay in this case and it's not okay in this case. I don't like to roll like that. I like to be consistent in my thoughts. I don't like being wishy-washy and all over the place. I just don't know if it, why the state would be so gung-ho to accept the plea unless that was their whole end game to begin with. You know what I mean? With this guy. And not that they have, I don't think it's because they don't have enough evidence, because Ann Taylor wouldn't be recommending her guys sign a plea deal if they didn't have enough evidence against him. She'd be like, oh, hell no, we're not signing your little plea deal. Well, we're taking this all the way to trial because we're innocent. That's what would happen. And that's not what's happening. So that's super
I mean,
crazy.
it was probably, like I said, most likely about the money, like the cost of the trial and the appeals and whatever, the
By the
cost to
time they,
house him for
yeah,
death penalty,
by the time they weigh all that, right? With
housing. And of course, they're
Mhm.
not going to say, oh, hey, families, this is really about the money, and everything. So, no, they say, oh, yeah, we considered you guys, and da 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 da, because that's the PC way to do it.
Yeah. Um, there was a document dropped today in the Idaho docket, but it was about
Yeah.
sealing juror
Mm
questionnaires. So
hmm. Mm hmm.
they were definitely getting ready for trial.
Mm
And I
hmm.
just don't know, hopefully we'll get more details out soon. Um, they would still have to prove it in court. Yeah. Prove what? Did I miss some of that, Pokemon? Yeah, if Brian Koberger went to trial, they'd have to prove his guilt in court through evidence, and I think that the state was prepared to do that. I've never thought that they weren't prepared to do it. Um, I'm willing to walk in there open-minded, but I think they got a lot of good evidence against this guy, and apparently they got, and makes me wonder too, Dolphin, you know how we were talking about the Michael Easter situation and what was said.
Mm hmm.
Um, so I know somebody left comments on my thing. Well, Koberger's car didn't have the SIM card, blah blah blah. Well, not according to the research I did. But here's the thing
Yeah.
with the Blue Link. They discontinued the service January 2022
Mm hmm.
because it was still running 2G and they didn't support that any longer. So I don't know if that, and the murders didn't occur till November of 2022. So I don't know if the SIM card still actively records data. Do you know what I'm saying? Even though you don't have the service activated, I don't know how that works. But there's something they have, and Brian Koberger knows it. Now, we also found out in documents that Brian Koberger was allegedly trying to wipe his school computer with
Mm
forensic data wiping tools.
hmm. Mm hmm.
So don't think the FBI can't recover a lot of that stuff. Now, it can take a long time in a lot of those cases. I've seen that where it takes a couple of years. But who knows what they were able to pull as far as that
Yeah, the
data.
research that I did on Blue Link a few days ago was also saying that you would have gotten basic Blue Link you know services for free if you were the primary owner, the original owner of the car. And then I went on further and it said that even if you were like a second owner, like you weren't the original owner, you would
Hmm.
still get basic Blue Link services at no cost. So it still would have been running, if since he was not the original owner of the car and the
Well,
transfer
but after
ownership was
January,
transferred.
yeah, but after January 2022, they stopped offering Blue Link service on those models, several models, because it was a 2G powered platform, or that's what they were using. And
Mhm.
there's a whole article on it in Motor Trend magazine about it. Um,
Mhm.
so as of January 2022, I don't know if it was, I guess if they can still record it, could they pull the information from there? But I don't know what they were able to pull from all of the things that Brian Koberger had, all of his devices, because there were a lot of devices pulled out of the home in Pennsylvania. And then we heard he was using the forensic wiping tools. Now the FBI can go back and still retrieve that information. I wonder if they were able to, and what they were able to see on any of his devices as far as like a planning. We know Rex Heuermann had a planning document. BTK pretty much had a planning document. Did Brian Koberger have a planning document of some sort? Did he have a checklist like BTK did and like Rex Heuermann did? Watch out for the DNA. Watch out for hair strands. Don't get your bag. I mean, all kinds of. We saw how detailed Rex Heuermann's really was, and he's not. He's an architect. Now, if an architect can think of all those things he should not do, Brian Koberger also knew the things he should not.
Yeah, PhD student with Asperger's and
Hmm.
all these other things, OCD, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Firefly says, I'm the primary owner of her Sonata and she gets Blue Link for free. Yeah, that may be the case with these newer models. And also, I heard there was a news clip that I saw this morning about So the guy that the Kobergers bought the Hyundai Elantra from, they had subpoenaed him as well. And then so the reporter was like, something about them possibly wanting to sell the car. And I thought, what? And we've not heard that at all. Did Koberger reach out to the old car lot once he got back to Pennsylvania and be like, I might want to trade this Hyundai in on a different car? I wonder if that was a possibility. Did he go visit the old place and say, hey, can I trade this Elantra in on something different? I don't know. And I don't know how the news, where they even got that idea. If that's really something they've heard there in town in Pennsylvania or what that was about. So I think it was getting to be really real, and then Ann Taylor, even the other day, we were reading in those documents, these new red flags that she found, these new
Those, yeah.
new mental health problems that her client suddenly has.
But actually, so the guy for the car dealership,
Hmm.
I know that was the defense subpoena. Was he also like somebody that the state wanted to talk to?
As far as I could tell, it was just the defense that had reached out to him on the subpoena. Now, I don't know
Okay.
because it was on the Pennsylvania site that it was the defense who reached out to him.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
but I don't, and that's what I was trying to,
Because
because
I
if
had
you
heard that
want
there might be another reason why they wanted to like talk to
well, what
him,
did you
but
hear?
I can't really say right now. But yeah, I'm sure it'll come out. That guy may talk. Actually, what he
What,
said
what?
though. No, can't say.
Well, that's fine. I'm just in my mind, I'm thinking, what could be the damn big deal? I mean, either he was going to sell the car or he didn't, or that guy knows that the guy can vouch for when he bought it, but the title would tell them when he bought it. So he's not there to verify the car purchase. Um, so I don't know what else he would tell them other than he came back in maybe to want to trade it in and get a different ride. I don't know. But I guess you're talking to somebody with privileged information, or so they say. Let me see here. If I could, where was that at? Where did I even see that? Was it on a news piece or did I have it in an article where they were talking about that guy? Oh, let me do it this way. I think it might have been it may have been on that Court TV piece that I watched earlier. It was on one of the ones I watched earlier talking about that, and they brought up the guy who owned the dealership, but they brought up a couple of them, the ones that they were going to be trying to subpoena. But they're not going to be subpoenaed now. um, Donnie says, is it wrong that I've gone around telling the Lieberger to leave true crime?
No.
Good luck.
Hey, you guys, I had to laugh just a few minutes ago. My sister sent
Uh-huh.
me the headline of Koberger pleading guilty. She's not even into true crime at all. I'm like, oh my god,
Oh, that's funny.
even
Yeah,
she
but they
knows.
know you are. They know you're looking at it, right?
Yeah,
That
it's
is so
like
funny.
exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Is like, oh wow, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
she did go to CrimeCon with me, so
Oh, that's
maybe it
Ooh,
cool.
and
rubbed
we're
off a
still
little bit
going.
with her.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I think there's just, you know what, with this case, it's been like I'm kind of glad that the plea deal's happening and this can shut the hell up, because there's a whole lot of people running around out here acting like they got all the answers and they've had them all along, but yet they shift and they flip and they change and they come out and still want to pat themselves on the back. Look what I did. Look what I knew. Look what I'm telling you I know. It's a bunch of
Not
games.
to mention a bunch of people who are just crazy as hell.
That's the whole thing. There's a whole bunch of people out there that we know they're not everybody's playing with a full deck.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people out there who people believe that I know aren't playing with a full deck. I mean, when you come out and put yourself out there, sister, and you're singing and dancing all over the place, and I'm supposed to believe it. Come on. If you act like you got a few loose screws, I'm gonna treat you like you got a few loose screws, and I'm not gonna be able to pay attention to what you're saying here in a minute because it just doesn't make any sense. But I'm not gonna listen to someone making a fool out of themselves all the time. It's okay to be silly, but to come out and act like you know things the rest of us don't know when you actually thought the opposite a year and a half, 2 years ago, whatever, So I can't with have these people. I'm kind of glad I wanted to see it go to trial. I think we all did because we all wanted to see all the evidence. I wasn't thinking that, oh, we're going to get this crazy case where they're going to come in and mind blow me and he's not the guy. I never really thought that ever. But I wanted to see the evidence against him and see it all play out. So it's kind of a letdown that that's not happening. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that it's over with because these cases all take on a life of their own. These conspiracy shit gets old after a while. When you can't evaluate a case fairly based on what you see, and you can't even have a conversation about it. I'm telling you, Joe and I'll talk about Delphi sometimes, and you can see people are just like, y'all are crazy. The guy did it. He confessed. Well, that's what you saw on the surface, right? I also saw on the surface that Karen Reed was a just belligerent drunk who ran over John O'Keefe in a raging fit, which that's not true either, right? There's just a lot out there. I think people need to start. If you weigh stuff, fairly, I think everybody can come to their own conclusions. It's the ones that don't go in and let somebody else think for you. Does that make, you know what I mean? That's what I'm going with that. Don't let other people think for you. And when they tell you one thing, wonder how they know. Even here, we'll read it out of the documents and we'll talk about it. But this case took on so much of a life of its own. And I think a lot of that was pushed down, especially with, the Reed case exploding and taking off the way it was doing there. And people are coming back. There's some people who have never left it. Have never left the Idaho 4 case. Oh goodness. So people on Twitter are being directed to go to certain YouTube streams to get the truth. And let me just say, I'm going to have to probably call it a night on that one. This is the truth. Oh, I can imagine what truths they're bringing. Oh yeah, people aren't going to stop for a while. I mean, shit, people still out there going on and on and on and on and on and on and on about the Karen Reed trial. It's like, man, that lady's done. She might want y'all to shut up about her for a minute unless she enjoys the fame and the spotlight and enjoys her name being spoken constantly. I want people to shut up if that was me. I'm like, y'all just give me a minute. Y'all hush. Thank you for your support and all that, They'll talk about it forever. Shit. On and on and on about Lori Vallow, which I'm going to go here in a minute and watch that, watch the final interview with Lori Vallow, and then I'm done with her. Let's see. Here's another tweet. How can the defense claim in court that BK isn't competent to aid in his defense in the mitigation phase of the trial, and his autism precludes him understanding the ramifications of testifying, yet weeks later he's competent to plead guilty? Was expecting a competency exam, not a plea. And that is coming from a fucking attorney. The man was a PhD student, lady, in his third college. I think he understood the differences and the ramifications. Why are people still doing that, y'all? It's crazy.
There's a new... Brian Enton posted a new statement from the Gonzalez family on the plea deal and True Crime Butterfly. Put it in Discord for you.
Well, I'm on Twitter now. Let me go look
Yeah.
at it. Yeah. Is it the same?
No.
Okay.
New statement.
So let me pull this over here. Let me see.
Came out like 26 minutes ago.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Butterfly. Gonzalez family statement. The death penalty is merely an illusion in the criminal justice system. When available, it serves as a bargaining tool for the state, and when rarely applied, it's never enforced due to a highly inefficient appellate process.
Jesus.
So let me just say this. There's a lot going on in Idaho right now with the death penalty and how they will enforce and carry out the death penalty. Thomas Creech, they tried to execute the guy a few months back. They couldn't even get a vein. Now they've scrapped all that. We're going to the firing squad. All that. I would just be take what you got, you know. There's a lot going on in Idaho with this process. The notion that someone can plead guilty to a crime and still face years of appellate delays reveals a systemic failure. The Latah County Prosecutor's Office treatment of our family during this process is something I wouldn't wish on anyone. Wow. We questioned decisions early in the investigation. Why was the mayor commenting on the case? Why was the coroner speaking to families? Why was an officer with less than 2 years' experience leading the investigation? Why was the University of Idaho involved when they declared it as an isolated off-campus incident? Why was the university permitted to write a book about the incident while others were silenced under the overly broad order? As a result, we were branded adversaries. So it was no shock how Latah County Prosecutor's Office mishandled the plea deal. They vaguely mentioned a possible plea on Friday without seeking our input. Well, that can't be true because your daughter had enough time to write up a whole ass statement. It's got to be a little more involved, I feel like. Without seeking our input, and that's not what they said a little earlier, though. Presented a plea on Sunday. Latah County should be ashamed of its prosecutor's office. 4 wonderful people lost their lives, yet the victims' families are treated as opponents from the outset. We weren't even called about the plea. We received an email with a letter attached. That's true. That's how Latah County Prosecutor's Office treats murder victims' families. Adding insult to injury, they're rushing the plea, giving families just 1 day to coordinate and appear at the courthouse for a plea on July 2nd. Who do they think they are? After more than 2 years, this is how it concludes, with a secretive deal and a hurried effort to close the case without any input from the victims' families on the plea's details. Our family is frustrated right now, and that will subside, and we will come together as always and deal with the reality that we are facing moving forward. Once again, we thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers. Well, all you did right there with that statement is fuel the fire for your Kohberger's innocent trained people, but y'all go do you.
That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. They think that they're in control of everything, and they're not. And they never. I'm sure Shannon Gray told them, like how much weight their feelings or whatever carried, like in the whole process or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm sure he would have told them that.
Yeah.
Forrest, Christy Gonzalez said in one of their interviews with Brian Enton, she just wants him dead. That's what she said. I just want him dead. Kind of like, what's taking so long? I don't blame her, but I'm just saying this is the mindset of them, of this particular family. There may be some other families that feel that way too. I'm not saying that they don't have a right to feel that way, but I'm just kind of like, don't get ahead of yourselves and think that you are in control of the process, because you're not. That's what my whole point was earlier.
And they've always tried to be in control.
Right.
And when they weren't able to be in control, and like I said a long time ago, part of what made this case grow the legs like it did and take on that life of what's going on here is partly because of Steve Gonsalves coming out and publicly questioning law enforcement and saying things. Well, they're not telling us this, and they haven't gotten this. All of that came in, and I just let them talk because they're grieving parents,
Hmm.
and they're entitled to however they want. I mean, if it was my child, I might feel just like them right in this moment. I might not. I don't know because I'm not in the situation. I know what it feels like to lose a child, but not to that. So I know myself well enough to know I would have some damn thoughts on it, and I wouldn't give a fuck what nobody thought about my thoughts. I'll just say it like that. I would not give a fuck what nobody thought about my thoughts concerning my dead child. But at the same time, eeks, maybe
Yeah,
maybe
because I
slow your
mean,
roll just a little bit there.
he
They
hasn't
caught the
slowed his
guy.
roll. You know what I
Right,
mean? And
right.
that's the problem. And honestly, Steve G is your leaker. You
Oh
know,
yeah, he's been the leaker all
he's
along.
been the leaker all along.
All
Because
along.
why? Because he hasn't slowed his roll.
Nope.
And he won't listen to the people who were handling the case for him,
Yep. And we
and whatnot. And you know what? I'm sure that the prosecutor's office
uh-huh.
didn't want to talk to the G's, okay? Why do you
Right.
think they sent an email instead of
Right.
making a phone
We
call?
we know
Okay?
y'all both gonna get on this phone and blah 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 blah
Exactly. Because
death.
they were like, we're going to do what we're going to do, blah, 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 but we'll dress it up like this and say that, oh, this is, for the families, blah, 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 to spare them. But no, the G's have been a thorn in the prosecution and law enforcement side the whole
From
time.
day one, from
Yes.
from the onset, and I don't think I would have approached it the same way they did if it especially, right now I'd be thankful, honestly. If you got the right guy and you got him to take a plea and he's gonna serve 4 consecutive life sentences, he's never getting out. And he'll be in Gen Pop because he's not on DP. So guess what? Koberger's weak ass little self ain't gonna have a whole lot. He's not gonna have a good time in prison.
Yeah, he's going to stare at the wrong person
Oh God,
too long.
he's gonna be somebody's girlfriend or by the end of the night. Mm.
Oh, that's what I told Firefly. He wanted to be in a relationship, so maybe he'll find
Oh shit,
somebody.
shit.
Oh my god. He'll get a
Yeah.
girlfriend in prison. That's too funny
I
because
want to
that
see a
deadpan
picture of
stare.
her.
Yeah, you're right. He's trying to piss
Yes.
off the wrong
That
person.
that big ass
It.
motherfucker
Oh
over there in the
no.
corner. I want to
Yep.
see a picture of that dude. I'm gonna get no, I don't
You better
either. I
look
don't even wanna get
down.
that visual in my head. Ew.
Because he doesn't know any better, right?
Right.
So
He don't know
he's
how.
going to have
does
some
Don't
it?
think
problems.
he's got that
Oh,
staring problem. He needs to wear that sign. I got the autism.
yes.
It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Damn it.
Or you know what? They might need to break it down in more common old terms, right? If people don't understand what autism is.
Oh my God. They're gonna
For
be
the
like,
people in the
what?
back seats in prison,
You don't have a dictionary or don't
you
have
know, might have to pull out the R word,
right.
like,
That
yeah, because,
that A and that U and that S. How do I pronounce that? Shit, we're bad. Um,
Oh no.
but yeah, I mean, I would take this if I was them because now the guy you don't have Ann Taylor waltzing into court saying my guy is innocent. Brian Koberger is innocent. My client is. Her
girl, Anne
exhausted
has been
self.
so low energy these last few hearings. I don't even
Hasn't
think she
she?
would really, put up much of a show.
No, because she had no fight left in her. Almost it seemed like I'm just
And she
here.
knew she couldn't get away with the same tricks that she used to in front of Judge. Hippler was not having any of her
All of
shit.
her delay tactics
None.
weren't going to work in over here in Ada County, and she knew that's the best thing she had going for her was to get delays, and to give her more time to fight to get the DP off the table, which was her end game. That's all her end game is
I
always
wonder
about.
if it was Anne that told him, look,
Oh yeah,
the
I'm
motion
sure
for the continuance was denied. We
that
we
was our
can't.
last
I
shot,
got
guys.
nothing.
That was our last
Tank's
shot.
empty.
That's what I said.
Yeah, could be.
after that was over, because
She's
she,
like, you can take your chances. I can try to, defend
yeah,
you. And then you can say ineffective counsel, on appeal or whatever. And, see if you roll the dice on that and come up good. But you know what I mean?
and she didn't even try to file motions to keep the evidence out that allegedly was leaked to Dateline, which
Right?
some attorneys speculated she could and would do.
Hmm.
And she probably would have gotten that, to some degree, maybe. But
And
yeah,
then
her
the
low energy
emergency
feeling.
order, remember there was an
Yeah,
emergency order that they did. So that means that they lost that too. I think she
exactly.
went over Hitler's head to a different court or whatever, you know,
Well,
trying to
she
file something.
maybe, but I feel like I feel like you that I think she finally approached her client and said, "Look,
She's like, I
we've
just
done
can't do it.
we've done everything we can get, everything we have, we've thrown at this." You
True
know,
crime butterfly said she probably got tired of his ass. I would have
she
gotten
probably
tired of him
did.
too. His crazy ass.
His
Yes.
crazy ass eyes staring at her.
Hmm.
Like, man, you
You
gonna
guys
get me off
noticed
your neck?
the last few hearings he hasn't been sitting next to her.
No,
Hmm. I did
there's
notice that. Yep.
distance. Yep, there, and but he's still gonna sit there and just stare. But then again, that he can't help that.
You
He's
can't.
just a staring guy. He's that kind of guy. But no, I'm like my niece. What the fuck are you staring at?
Hmm.
My niece was like, we couldn't even take her little ass to a restaurant because if somebody looked at her,
Oh shit.
she's 9 years old. She's cussing them out. What the hell are you looking at? And you were like, oh shit, Brittany, come
Oh
on, girl. And so
my
me and my
god.
sister, we joke about that. If we go somewhere together, we're like, what are you staring at? Because my niece will not tolerate it. Um, Shelby went up and gets Koberger and whooped his ass. You stared at me for a second. No, dude, that's not happening. Um,
Oh
but yeah,
shit.
she probably got tired of him, Butterfly. I agree.
Yeah. Hmm.
Even if and Anne had to be one of the first ones to notice something's not right with this guy.
She knew. Yeah.
Something's not right.
Actually, wait a minute. She remember in the documents where they said that he's basically a hindrance
Yes.
to, what they're trying to do or whatever, like that he can't even participate, effectively in his own,
Yep.
defense or whatever, that he's a hindrance because he's like focused
Can't
on
ask
something
questions
else and
appropriately.
whatever
Yeah.
and
Yep.
yada yada. That right there told you she was getting tired of his ass, you know?
Yeah, and the more she probably tried to explain something to him, he's more like, "Well, how do you know that?
Mhm.
What's the
Mhm.
law on that?
Right.
Did
Show
you
me
look
the
it up
law
in
on
the law
that.
book?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Mhm.
yeah. And I'd have been like, "Dude, come the hell on."
Yep, think that body
Um,
cam footage for that traffic stop, right?
oh
The
my god,
crosswalk, think that
yes,
times 1,000.
Oh my
Okay,
right?
gosh.
for every little thing that she's been arguing or whatever. Yeah,
What
she was
in the
probably done
world
with
is
them.
happening in my house? Hold on,
Hmm.
dog.
She
What are you
probably just
doing?
said the money isn't that good. It's not worth
Mhm.
it.
Are you home? Oh, my son. I'm like, what is this noise in my house? Thought I heard the
I
dog
thought
moving around. My son came home. He
I thought
snuck
I
in
heard a
on.
doorbell or something. Is that
No, I
your
Um,
don't have.
doorbell?
No, it went the
no,
doorbell.
I mean,
Oh,
mm,
Yep.
maybe that was my
What?
house.
Hang on, I'll be right back. He's saying something to me. I'm coming right back.
okay. She said, "Boo, motherfucker." That's what I would be saying.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I think, like I said, they knew. They've known because think they've had more. They've had access to all of this stuff. Plus, they had access to him.
they knew
He's
it was
her
him.
defense attorney. He could have actually told her, "Yes,
That's
I
true.
did it." You know.
I was wondering about that too. Yeah, maybe he did get
Mhm.
that to her because you still
Mhm.
have to defend me regardless, right? So,
And if he did, then I would wonder when,
I'd
because
lose
did she
my.
get up in court and lie? When she said, "Oh, we believe in Brian's innocence."
Well,
Remember, she was all,
technically he's innocent until proven guilty, so
well,
it's not
yeah,
lying,
yeah.
right?
Hmm. That's why I said Anne is a squirrely trickster, and you cannot listen to her. You know,
Yeah,
this is crazy. So you said people are just still going nuts online. I
yeah.
saw what you said about maybe the FBI initiated it. POV is getting way too close to their CI operation. Oh, jeez.
I know. Yeah, I've just been popping in other chats and stuff, and it's like,
Hmm.
oh boy, the comment.
Actually, has he gone live or done a video? I know he doesn't do lives.
Okay.
Has
Who?
he? Old Pavarotti.
I don't watch that dude. I couldn't tell you
Every
what.
now and then I check, like, he
Uh,
might have something, and I'm like, oh, well, let's see where he's going to go
oh
with
God,
this.
he
I
might
know it's
have
crazy,
something.
but it's for laughs, you
She
know?
said he might have something. Dolphin's like, I hold out hope that he might.
You
Um,
know,
you never
it's
know, right?
like, yeah, what's he gonna, say this time? This week it's, these people, and another week it's another group of people, and
No,
Oh yeah.
I believe what the thing that these drug people, I believe
that
all
it's
that
separate,
that's
though, right?
happening, but it's
Yeah.
nothing to do with the Koberger
I
case.
don't
Like
think it's,
nothing.
yeah. Mm-mm.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I never thought it was drugs. I never thought it was
No.
frats. I never
well, I
thought,
mean,
it was the surviving roommates.
Well, roommates are
Just
just
like,
dumb and
they're just
young
stupid.
and
Yep.
naive. That's it. That's it. They just are.
Hmm.
I don't know. No one.
it's
Oh,
always been that
okay.
way, and yeah, I can't. Where's my?
Oh, he did do an update an hour ago.
Who? Pavarotti did?
Yeah. At 3 minutes and 41 seconds. The revealing update. That's all. He's just got, yeah, 3 minutes. And oh, wow. Really? Only 3 minutes? Hmm.
Oh wow, someone went and deleted their whole DM to me that I got DM'd me like 2 fucking years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Of that
Uh-oh.
whole alternate scenario, what really happened in Idaho 4.
Oh,
She tried
God.
so she tried so hard to get me to run with that story. Go, "Come on, you got." Fuck no. I ain't doing
That
it.
sort of sounds like something off of 4chan or something.
This was Chandra. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, Chandra. You know
Mm-hmm.
you're out there on the Twitter and you're living large on the TikTok more than likely. You supposedly psychologist who's gonna go to bat for Koberger from day one. That's who. A
Ooh.
psychologist who apparently thinks I don't need to. She thinks I should know who she is, but even though I didn't know who she was, and I should take her word for it because she knows things. Okay, I still didn't believe your whole fucking alternate situation you sent me 2 years ago in DM, and I never, ever talked about it live. Ever. But apparently you was wrong, Chandra, all along, and I thought better than to jump on a live and play Jacoff and run with some bullshit because somebody DM'd it to me. Oh, look what somebody DM'd me. I know everything. Dumbasses. So Butterfly says that the Gonzalez family would be on News Nation at 10 with Brian Enton.
Oh
Oh, that's
wow,
5 minutes
that's
from
good.
now. Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to go also watch the Lori Vallow interview with Nate Eaton because I just can't help myself. Um, I will be back live in the morning, guys. I was planning to go at 10 a.m. and maybe 11, but I will be live tomorrow to do a really good update on the Crystal Rogers case and where we're sitting with that case as of now. And if anything new develops overnight with the Koberger stuff, of course, we'll put that in there as well, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll take a look at that. Now tomorrow, I may go push my time back a little bit for tomorrow because I do know that there is a Morphew hearing tomorrow at should be 2:30 Central, and that should be aired. So I'll probably be live to cover that, and then we will definitely be here on Wednesday to cover the Koberger hearing for sure. Um, I don't know if Firefly will be able to join us. She'll probably be at work, but she'll be listening in. And if Dolphin wants to come hang out with us while we watch the hearing, you're more than welcome to. Guys, it's been a crazy breaking news kind of night, and I appreciate the ones who've come in, and I know a lot of people are popping off with their lives about it. So I appreciate you guys coming in here and talking to us about it, and we'll see what happens as it plays out. There was, gosh, I was kind of looking forward into getting to our Idaho 4 series that we were, getting ready to do, and digging into some things. Not
There'll
sure.
still be stuff to dig into. I guarantee you.
You said you're not sure if he's going to be on with Brian Enton, but he reported it. Did he say report it on Twitter? I'm hoping the plea will happen on Wednesday. Well, yeah, Rachel, I think it's going to happen on Wednesday if there's a hearing set up for it, like they're saying.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it will happen. And then they'll do. And sentencing's going to just be a formality because if they're going to give him, 4 consecutive life sentences, the plea deal apparently says a life sentence per charge and then a 10-year on the burglary charge.
So, but you know what? I thought about something too earlier.
What's
So
that?
remember the Parkland high school shooting in Florida?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nicholas Cruz took a plea deal, right? So they didn't actually have a penalty phase of the trial. So, but before it was before they did the sentencing, or I guess they had already. I don't remember the order, but they had the victim impact statements. So people
Yeah.
came and actually, were able to, say how this affected them and whatever. And I'm wondering, will they, give the families, you know,
I think
a
so.
chance to come and,
I think, if it wasn't on Emily D. Baker, because I didn't
hmm
get to watch the rest
I
of her
didn't get to
stuff.
watch all of hers.
Yeah, somebody had talked about that, Dolphin, earlier when we were before we went live, that I think they will still be able to give victim impact statements at sentencing. So I just checked out the Twitter and, Firefly, Butterfly. I'll get it straight one day. News Nation, 10 p.m. Brian Enton did tweet Gonzalez family will be on, but he doesn't. I don't know who they'll be on with. So you guys go and take a look at that for sure, and I'll catch that if I can, and we'll get that up for you guys tomorrow. Um, let's see.
Yeah, and then Joe
Oh
Scott
yeah,
Morgan's going to be on Vinnie Politan's show.
I don't think Butterfly. I saw what Kay, and when you say Kay, I know you were talking about from Lori Vallow. Kay Woodcock says she hoped it wasn't an Alfred plea, but I don't think that's not happening here. I don't believe so. All right, guys. Well, you guys go and see what you can find out this evening. I'm going to go do the same thing. A couple of things to review, and we'll be back again live tomorrow with our coverage on the Crystal Rogers case and see if we can get into that Barry Morphew hearing as well. And I'll give you guys an update on that. From what I do know, Barry Morphew has been transferred back to Colorado on a $3 million cash bond. And there's supposed to be a hearing, like I said, on Wednesday for that matter as well. All right, guys. Until then, I'll let you guys go. Have a good night, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good night, Dolphin.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.